Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 94, so let's get to it. Episode 94 begins in Ceres Park. Ash and Go return from the Unova region and they greet their Pokemon. The narrator reveals that Ash and Go were investigating something in the Unova region, though he does not reveal what the investigation was about. Go then gathers all the Pokemon so that he can introduce them to his latest capture, a Lilligant. It's obvious that Go got this latest capture in the recent off-screen trip to the Unova region that Ash and Go are returning from. Lilligant is a Generation 5 Pokemon, so it does make sense. Now I do want to point out that a Hoot is seen here among Go's other Pokemon. Hoot is a Pokemon that Go was never shown capturing or owning in the past. This is the first time that this Hoot is shown, so it is unknown when Go caught it and where he caught it. So Lilligant greets all the other Pokemon who take an immediate liking to her because of her sweet aroma. Ash and Go then tend to all the Pokemon by playing with them, by feeding them, and by brushing them among other things. In the evening, Go's Raichu gives some berries to Lilligant who spins around out of joy, which spreads her sweet aroma all around her. This makes all the Pokemon around her happy and relaxed. However, she drops a berry in the process of spinning. Go's Heracross happens to be nearby and he picks up the fallen berry. The episode then cuts to Go's Pincer who is in a field of flowers. Pincer makes a wreath of flowers and it imagines what will happen when it gives the wreath to Heracross. Since Pincer thinks that Heracross will be happy, it runs off in a hurry so that it can find Heracross. Meanwhile, Heracross returns the berry to Lilligant who is delighted by this. And just like before, her happiness leads to a release of her sweet aroma. Like the other Pokemon, Heracross loves the sweet aroma, but Heracross likes it even more than the other Pokemon, and he is captivated by Lilligant's aroma to the point that he has hearts in place of his eyes. Pincer soon arrives to witness this scene and it is shocked when it sees that Heracross's love has been essentially stolen by another Pokemon. The next day, Go is feeding all the Pokemon and he soon spots Pincer who is so depressed that it even refuses to eat. Go explains the situation to Ash so that Ash can give him some advice. Ash says that he always cheers up with a good battle, but he remembers that Pincer does not like to battle, therefore he realizes that a good battle won't work in this situation. Go thinks about what he can do and I love that Grookey hits Go on the head like, hello, is someone there? Go then has an idea. Pincer might cheer up with Heracross's help. The episode then cuts to Lilligant who finds a giant boulder that blocks her path. But Heracross soon appears and he shatters the boulder with his horn. Heracross then flexes like, look how strong I am. Lilligant smiles and she claps, which releases her sweet aroma and Heracross once again becomes infatuated. Ash and Go witness this scene. Ash says that Heracross and Lilligant are already good friends, but Go says that what they just saw is more of an example of being madly in love than of being good friends. I love that Grookey is instead staring at the shattered rock here in shock, like no way. Go then mentions that Heracross likes the sweet scent of flowers, which is why he likes Lilligant. Go then realizes that this is the reason why Pincer is sad. Ash then points out that Pincer is nearby and it is also watching Heracross and Lilligant while hiding behind something. Pincer soon runs away in tears. The episode then cuts to the flower field that Pincer was at earlier. Pincer is sitting on a bridge and it stares into its reflection in the river below, with tears in its eyes. This scene is depressing enough on its own, but sad music also plays during this segment, and I honestly ended up feeling really bad for poor Pincer here. Ash and Go watch Pincer from a distance and Go wonders what he should do, since he cannot just tell Heracross and Lilligant not to get along. Pincer then takes a flower that reminds it of Lilligant and Pincer places the flower on its head, but the flower soon falls off. Pincer takes the flower again and it places the flower on its head again, but the flower falls off yet again. Pincer does this one more time, but this time the flower falls into the river and Pincer cries as a result. Ash wonders what Pincer is doing and Go explains that Pincer is probably thinking if only I had a pretty flower like Lilligant does. Go then says, Pincer, you are a lovely Pokemon. You are very kind. There must be something I can do for you. Ash and Go then make their way to the lab while they think about what they can do to help Pincer. Ash says that if it was him, he would eat and train with Pincer, but Go says that he thinks that they should be more considerate in this situation. Chloe happens to be here in the lab and she tells Professor Cerise about a Pokemon flower arranging class that she and Eevee want to attend, because they might be able to meet a Leafeon who is in the advertisement for the class. Professor Cerise says that this sounds interesting and he tells Chloe to go to the class, which makes Chloe and Eevee happy. Ash and Go overhear all of this and Go says that's it. If Pincer learns more about flowers, it will be able to get along better with Heracross. Ash agrees and so they decide to go with Chloe, who is very confused. Ash, Chloe, and Go then travel via bus to Celadon City, which is where the class will take place. On the way to Celadon City, Go explains the situation to Chloe so that she can understand why Ash and Go decided to go to the class, and Chloe agrees with their decision. Go then notes that the class will take place at the Celadon Gym, and he wonders if this is an actual Pokemon gym. Ash says that yes, it is, and that the gym leader is Erika, who specializes in grass-type Pokemon. Go is surprised and he wonders if Ash knows Erika. Ash says we went and battled her before, right Pikachu? Pikachu happily confirms this, so Chloe and Go are surprised. They all soon arrive at the gym and Chloe notes that there is a nice smell going around. Inside the gym, they tell the lady at the front desk that they want to participate in the class. The lady tells them to fill out a form so that they can register for the class. Ash wonders if Pikachu wants to join the class as well, and Pikachu says yes. Erika then appears, she greets everyone, and she introduces herself. I said this before in a previous video, but I will say it again here. We have not seen Erika in the anime since the episode Pokemon Sensation, which was 1,153 episodes prior to episode 94 of Pokemon Journeys. So it has definitely been a while since we last saw her in the anime. In fact, thus far, Erika is the character that had the longest gap between her first and second physical appearances in the anime. Erika soon recognizes Ash. She recalls how he saved her Gloom back when the gym was on fire, and we do get to see a flashback of this moment. Erika tells Ash that she is very grateful for what he did that day, and Ash says that it was nothing, while Chloe and Go are surprised to learn of this. It is always nice to see a returning character remember Ash and what he did before. Also, it's worth noting that the Celadon Gym did indeed burn down the last time that Ash was here, and yet here it is, good as new, meaning that it was repaired at some point. Erika wonders if Ash, Chloe, and Go are here to participate in the flower arranging class, and she says that they will participate with their partners Pikachu, Eevee, and Grookey. But Go says that he will use Pincer instead, and he sends out Pincer, who is energetic at first, but it then shows that it is still very much depressed. I love that Erika is at first surprised when she sees Pincer, but she then says oh dear or ara ara in Japanese when Pincer shows that it is still sad. Chloe then once again mentions that something smells good and she wonders if it is the smell of the flowers. Erika says that here at the Celadon Gym they research the aromas that Pokemon and flowers emit, and they make perfumes from them. She then says that the aroma that Chloe has been smelling was extracted from the leaves of Leafeon, who is standing behind Erika. Leafeon soon starts walking around and Eevee follows Leafeon while walking in the same way. Erika wonders what's going on, so Chloe explains that Eevee is unsure of what to evolve into, so she and Chloe are trying to learn as much as they can. Erika says, oh, is that so? Well, in that case, you should make sure you set a good example, Leafeon. Leafeon and Eevee both agree. The episode then cuts to the greenhouse. Erika leads everyone to where the class will take place. Erika explains that Pokemon flower arranging is a new form of art in which you decorate a Pokemon using flowers to portray becoming one of those berry flowers. She then shows how you decorate a Pokemon with flowers. She takes several flowers, she trims them, and she places them on Leafeon. As she does this, she says that it is important to consider how you would like to decorate your precious partner, what sort of arrangement your partner would like. You must make sure that you understand each other because then the arrangement you make won't just show off your love for nature and art, but it will also deepen the bonds between you and your partner. She then shows off her completed arrangement on Leafeon, which everyone likes, especially Eevee. Go then wonders what Pincer thinks. He says that Pincer can make itself look pretty with flowers as well, and that he bets that Pincer wants to give flower arrangements a try. Pincer nods really fast while making cute Pincer noises to show that yes, it wants to. Now this reminded me of Komi-san from Komi-san Can't Communicate, because she would also nod very fast while making cute noises in order to say yes. What's interesting here is that the same studio that made Komi-san Can't Communicate also makes the Pokemon Journeys anime. So who knows, perhaps this was intentional. Ash and Chloe both encourage Pincer while Go says that Heracross will love Pincer so much that they will become a couple afterwards. Erika hears the become a couple part and she stares at Go, who thinks that perhaps his motive for joining the class is too impure and that Erika does not approve of it. And while it does appear that this is the case since Erika gives Go a mean stare for a while, she ultimately says that nurturing love between Pokemon using flower arrangements is a lovely idea, and she says that she will help in any way that she can. Go is relieved when he hears this. Erika then tells everyone to pick whatever flowers they like and that they should decorate their partners however they like. It is then shown that Team Rocket are here. They came to the flower arrangement class hoping to find a Pokemon that they can steal. And they are surprised because Ash, Chloe, and Go are here, so Team Rocket decides that they will steal Pikachu. So everyone starts decorating their Pokemon. Ash and Pikachu pretty much just use any random flowers that they like. Chloe picks a bunch of flowers and she then wonders what Eevee wants. Eevee says that she wants the same arrangement that Leafeon has, and Chloe agrees to do this. Go, on the other hand, picks a flower that he thinks Heracross will like. Pincer ends up really liking this flower, so Go decides to use this flower as the focus of the arrangement. Go then turns to Grookey hoping that Grookey will help, but in classic Grookey fashion, Grookey decides to play around instead. Go thus retrieve Grookey, who is not too happy, which is funny. Grookey is like a restless child that does not want to sit still. A child that just wants to keep playing and be mischievous. When Go returns with Grookey, he sees that Pincer completely covered its pincers with the same type of flower that Go picked before. Go says that this might be too much. Now I love that Erika smiles when she sees this. She is glad that Pincer and Go are having fun. Jesse and James then show up in disguise and they say that they want to join the class as well. Now I love that Meowth does his best to act like a normal Meowth here. Erika lets Jesse and James join the class and she mentions that their partners are Meowth and Wobbuffet. Go hears this and he becomes suspicious because Meowth and Wobbuffet bring Team Rocket to mind. Jesse, James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet freeze in fear, but Go soon says that there's no way it's them and he keeps working on his flower arrangement. Since they are in the clear, Team Rocket take a seat and they decide to wait for the moment when everyone has their guard down so that they can steal Pikachu. So everyone continues with their arrangements. Chloe tries her best to recreate the arrangement that Leafeon has on it, but this proves to be more difficult than she expected. Ash ends up disappointed with his arrangement since it does not look very pretty and he wonders what went wrong. While Pikachu's like, really? You don't know why it ended up like this? The answer is that Ash just used random flowers without actually planning anything, which is just classic Ash. Go thus end up with an arrangement that he likes, but he still feels that something is missing. So he searches for what else he can add and he does find some flowers that have yet to blossom, but he dismisses them since they haven't bloomed yet. Meanwhile, Jesse and James act like they are arranging flowers, but they are just pretending while they wait for their chance to steal Pikachu. James decides to play with Meowth using a flower, and Meowth ends up bumping into Chloe, who apologizes to Meowth, who hilariously forgets that he is supposed to be a normal Meowth right now, and he says, "Don't worry about it." This confuses Chloe, but Jesse, James, and Meowth manage to talk their way out of this mistake, and they fool Chloe, who just ends up even more confused. Erika then tells everyone that each Pokemon has their own nature and their own characteristics, that certain arrangements suit certain Pokemon better. She says that everyone should try to come up with performances that make the most of the characteristics of their partner Pokemon. This gives Ash the idea to use Christmas decorations, while Go somehow gets an idea by watching Grookey, who is playing around with a spiked lid or something like that. Erika then says that everyone had fun with their Pokemon, and that it is now time to show off the results. However, before she can introduce the first Pokemon that we'll present, she notices that the newest members of the class are leaving. Erika wonders where they are going, and they say that they are going to pick flowers, and they leave in a hurry. Chloe then wonders what they came here for. Outside the greenhouse, Jessie and James decide to take Pikachu by force because they never found a moment in which they could steal Pikachu, and they just ran out of patience. So they call for their gacha machine, which fittingly gives them a Leafeon and a Lurantis. With their Pokemon in hand, they decide to charge back into the greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, Erika tells Chloe to present her creation first, so Chloe calls out to Eevee, who soon appears on stage. Erika is delighted when she sees that Chloe went for an arrangement that matches Leafeon's arrangement, while also taking advantage of Eevee's unique characteristics. Erika adds that this makes Leafeon happy, and this in turn makes Chloe happy. Go is amazed by Chloe's arrangement, while Ash says that Eevee and Leafeon do look identical. Erika then tells Ash to go next. Ash calls out to Pikachu, who enters the stage. Pikachu is surrounded by Christmas lights on top of having flowers on him. Pikachu then uses Thunderbolt, which turns on the Christmas lights. So Pikachu is basically a sentient Christmas tree, which is cool and adorable. Chloe and Go are amazed, while Erika says that Pikachu looks gorgeous, and that his performance is one that only electric-type Pokemon can do. Ash confidently says that he thought that this would make the best use of Pikachu's characteristics. Go says that Ash's arrangement is pretty good, but that his is better. Erika then tells Go to present next, and Go calls out to Pincer, who soon enters the stage with a dress made of flowers that is simply beautiful. Ash and Chloe both agree that Pincer looks very cute, but Go says that his arrangement is not done yet. And he has Grookey use its ability to make flowers bloom on Pincer, which makes all sorts of flowers blossom, which turns an already beautiful arrangement into something that is simply gorgeous and lovely. So Go did end up using the flowers that he dismissed earlier. Everyone is amazed by this. Chloe says that it's beautiful, and Erika says that it's marvelous, and that it's an arrangement that could only be created by understanding both Pincer and Grookey well. Ash then says that if only Heracross could see Pincer like this, and Go reveals that he did bring Heracross along. Ash, Chloe, and Erika are excited to see the moment when Pincer and Heracross see each other. Now I love that Pincer is flustered here, and it looks around like, oh no, Heracross will see me like this, what do I do? Am I ready for this? So, Go sends out Heracross, but before Heracross can see anything, Pikachu is stolen with a string shot from Leafeon, which turns everyone around. Jessie and James are still in disguise, so Ash wonders what they are doing. Jessie and James remove their disguises, and they perform their motto alongside Meowth and Wobbuffet. Go says I knew it, while Chloe says that she did think that they were strange. Jessie says that they will steal the other Pokemon too, so Leafeon uses String Shot. Erika says that she won't let them do as they please in her gym, and she has Leafeon use Razor Leaf, which destroys the String Shot. Pikachu then uses Iron Tail to break free. Lurantis then uses Leaf Blade, but Heracross counters with Fury Attack. Pincer panics during all of this because again, it hates to battle. So Leafeon uses Razor Leaf again, and Eevee then uses Razor Leaf as well via Copycat, which is not surprising, as this is tradition at this point. The two sets of Razor Leaves push back Leafeon, and Pikachu then uses Thunderbolt to defeat Leafeon for good. Meanwhile, Lurantis is still getting pummeled by Heracross's Fury Attack, which is pretty funny. Lurantis uses Petal Blizzard to finally knock Heracross back. Lurantis then begins to charge a Solar Beam attack. Heracross is unable to move out of the way in time, so when Lurantis fires the Solar Beam, Heracross is just sitting there waiting to get wrecked by Solar Beam. However, Pincer stands in front of Heracross and it protects Heracross by doing its best Piccolo impression, which is admirable. Now, while Pincer is able to withstand the attack, the flowers were not so fortunate, and most of them were unfortunately destroyed. Pincer is initially undeterred by this, and it puts its serious face on. Pincer then uses X-Scissor to hit Lurantis, who flies into Team Rocket, and so, Team Rocket blasts off again, which leaves a massive opening on the ceiling. Poor Erika just can't catch a break. Last time she appeared, her gym burnt down, and now during her second appearance, her greenhouse has its ceiling destroyed. Hopefully she has good insurance. Now it's worth noting again that Pincer does not like to battle. It was even scared throughout this whole ordeal. But Pincer still ended up fighting for the sake of its beloved Heracross, which shows just how much Pincer loves Heracross. Ash and Go congratulate Pincer, but Pincer turns around with teary eyes, and it looks at what's left of the flowers it had. Heracross then takes one of the flowers and he places it on Pincer's head. Heracross is then like, "The flowers do suit you," which makes Pincer very happy. Chloe says that Heracross fell in love with Pincer all over again due to the courage that Pincer showed earlier. And Go says that he is happy for Pincer, while Erika says that Heracross and Pincer do make a nice couple. The episode then cuts to the outside of the gym, where Erika thanks Ash, Chloe, and Go, and she also tells them to always remember the love for flowers and Pokemon in their hearts. Ash says that they always will, and Go thanks Erika. Erika then gives Chloe a bottle of Leafeon's perfume, and she says that she hopes that Chloe and Eevee will find a good answer someday. Chloe then thanks Erika for the gift. It is worth noting that Chloe and Eevee always end up with a gift after meeting an evolution, which is something that I said would happen back when they met Vaporeon. Though back then I thought that the gift would always be related to evolution. Still, I forgot about this and I only realized now with this episode that Chloe and Eevee have indeed received a gift after meeting each evolution. I am now looking forward to seeing what they get when they meet the remaining 3 evolutions. The episode ends with Pincer and Heracross who try to hold hands, but they hesitate to do so until Heracross decides to be bold, and he goes for it. However, this proves to be too embarrassing for Pincer, who ends up flustered, and Pincer uses its pincers to grab, lift, and squish poor Heracross, which is very funny. This is the Pokemon equivalent of that classic trope in romantic comedies where a flustered character slaps or punches the character that made them feel embarrassed. Chloe says that perhaps this is a hug, while Ash exclaims that Pincer is very strong, but that's the episode. So overall, this was a good episode. I really did feel bad for Pincer when it was depressed, and I am glad that in the end, Pincer was able to get the love and attention it wanted from Heracross. And it did so by battling, which is something that Pincer does not like to do. But for its beloved Heracross, Pincer broke out of its shell and it showed impressive grit and bravery. I think that the relationship between Pincer and Heracross is very sweet, very cute, and very funny. I would not be against seeing another episode that focuses on their relationship. Beyond this, it was great to see Erika again. I really loved the role that she played in this episode, and she was a funny, lovely, and supportive presence throughout. So I really enjoyed seeing her in this episode. Erika also proves that they don't have to bring back the super memorable and amazing character so that they can battle Ash in order to get us hype. Just bringing back a character that we like to do something that suits them is enough to get us excited, and I hope that more characters like Erika return in the future. It's also nice that Chloe and Eevee got to meet Leafeon. They are now one step closer to deciding their future. This ended up being a Chloe and Eevee meet an evolution episode just like I expected, which is nice. I also think that the flower arrangements that everyone made for their Pokemon were beautiful and adorable. So overall, I really did like this episode a lot. Certainly more than I thought I would when I first heard about this episode. Though to be fair, I knew very little about it back then. As for things I did not like about the episode, my only real gripe is that because this episode was a Chloe and Eevee meet an evolution episode, the focus really should have been on them, but instead, the focus was mostly on Pincer and Go. It really feels like Chloe and Eevee did not get the level of growth and development that they would normally get in an episode like this. There is probably a lot more that Chloe and Eevee could have learned from Erika and Leafeon. And this is the only Chloe and Eevee meet an evolution episode in which Chloe and Eevee do not learn an important and valuable lesson by the end. So I do think that they still did do an overall good job with this episode, because they essentially blended 2 episodes into one and it worked. The episode did not feel too rushed or too underdeveloped. But I still do think that it would have been better if they had divided this episode in 2. Pincer's side of the equation worked out well, but Chloe and Eevee's side felt a little lacking, which is a bit disappointing. But again, I still did like the episode, and I do think that they managed the 2 episodes in one thing rather well. But Chloe and Eevee do deserve better than what they got, especially when you consider that they don't get the spotlight often. And meeting evolutions is literally part of their dream. So it's wrong that a step of their goal is overshadowed by going one of his Pokemon. But that's the video, as always. Leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.